Trump, buoyed by Gaza deal, plans Putin summit on Ukraine peace. The call with Putin came right before his meeting with Zelensky, where the Ukrainian leader was hoping to obtain new long-range weaponry to use against Russia. Updated. October 17, 2025 at 4:47 a.m. EDT 2 minutes ago. 7 minutes. Summary. 1162. President Donald Trump said Thursday that he and Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet in Budapest. Demetrius Freeman / The Washington Post. By Michael Birnbaum and Mary Ilyashina. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet in Budapest within weeks to discuss an end to the war in Ukraine, Trump said Thursday, declaring progress toward peace after a productive call with his Russian counterpart. Trump is seeking another diplomatic breakthrough days after brokering a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Get concise answers to your questions. Try Ask the Post AI. The call came ahead of an Oval Office meeting Friday between Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has been urging Washington to sell Ukraine Tomahawk missiles that would strike deep into Russian territory. The Kremlin says that move would be a provocation, but some of Trump's allies see the move as leverage that could pressure Putin to agree to a peace deal. After the call, Trump expressed skepticism about selling the Tomahawks to Ukraine, saying, "We need Tomahawks for the United States of America, too." Zelensky, hours before his meeting with Trump, tweeted from the U.S. that despite the call, nothing has changed for Russia. It is still terrorizing life in Ukraine, pointing to the swarm of Russian drones that struck his hometown of Kryvyi Rih overnight. Russia is trying to leave this part of Europe an island of peril and torment for human life. It's crucial not to let that happen. Follow Trump's second term. Follow. Trump and Putin will meet in Hungary to see if we can bring this inglorious war between Russia and Ukraine to an end, Trump wrote on Truth Social. I believe great progress was made with today's telephone conversation. Trump has long courted Putin even as he has faulted him for not ending the war. The president in August rolled out a red carpet for Putin in Anchorage, where the two joked and sat for hours of discussions. Russian attacks on Ukraine have increased since, and Trump has become increasingly critical of the Russian leader in recent weeks. Thursday's discussion was an opportunity for Putin to regain the initiative and promote Russian narratives before Zelensky's visit on Friday. The Kremlin signaled Thursday that it was leveraging trade to incentivize Trump's cooperation, a tactic Putin has used as a way to attack a president who likes to brag about how much money he is bringing back to the United States through deals with other countries. Russian leaders have sought to lure Trump with one of the American president's main points was that ending the conflict in Ukraine would open up enormous, I emphasize, enormous, prospects for developing economic cooperation between the U.S. and Russia, Putin advisor Yuri Ushakov told reporters after the call. U.S. energy companies, mindful of moments in Russia's post-Soviet history when their investments in the country have been frozen or seized, have been cautious about the prospect of resuming business there even if sanctions are lifted. Putin on Thursday also sought to convince Trump that Russia had the upper hand on the battlefield, Ushakov said, with the Russians mindful that the U.S. leader is often attentive to fellow leaders' assessments of battlefield situations. That played to Ukraine's advantage when Trump gave Zelensky a sympathetic ear last month at the United Nations, as the Ukrainians laid out their case for why Russia was losing. Shortly afterward, Trump declared his belief that Ukraine could beat Russia militarily by expelling it from Ukrainian territory, a major shift in rhetoric. Putin on Thursday said the opposite. Russian armed forces fully controlled a strategic initiative along the entire line of contact. Under these circumstances, the Kyiv regime is resorting to terrorist methods, striking civilian targets and energy infrastructure, to which we are forced to respond accordingly, Ushakov said, complaining about Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian oil refineries that have taxed Russian energy production. Both sides are dug in, and neither has made significant territorial gains over the last year, as the rise of drone warfare has upended traditional military strategy. Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, and it currently holds about a fifth of Ukraine's territory. Casualties in the war are a closely guarded secret and are difficult to confirm. The British Defence Ministry estimated in June that Russia had suffered more than 1 million military deaths or injuries, with about 250,000 soldiers killed. The Center for Strategic and International Studies estimated that same month that about 400,000 Ukrainian soldiers had been killed or wounded, with 60,000 to 100,000 dead. The Budapest meeting between Trump and Putin will take place within 2 weeks or so, Trump told reporters Thursday. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán is the most Russia-friendly leader in the European Union and has sought to be a bridge between Washington and Moscow. "We have a problem. They don't get along too well, those two. And it's sometimes tough to have meetings. So we may do something where we're separate. Separate but equal. We'll meet and talk," Trump said. "This is a terrible relationship the two of them have." Trump will dispatch Secretary of State Marco Rubio to meet with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov next week to lay the groundwork, he said. The president said on the campaign trail last year that he could broker peace in Ukraine in 24 hours. The continued hostilities have frustrated him as he has made progress in Gaza and boasted that he has averted conflicts elsewhere. But the ceasefire deal in the Middle East this month appears to have bolstered Trump's confidence that he can end the war. Some European officials say that the missiles Zelensky is requesting are more symbolic than practical, demonstrating U.S. willingness to escalate pain on Russia as a bargaining tactic. Tomahawk missiles have enough range to hit Moscow from Kyiv, but Ukraine already has domestically produced drone and other capabilities that enable it to reach far into its neighbor's territory. Training Ukrainian soldiers on the weapons system also would take time. Trump has embraced the possibility of Tomahawk deliveries as a way to pressure the Kremlin into a truce. Trump's conversation with Putin came as congressional leaders said they would be likely to move forward on legislation that would strengthen U.S. sanctions against Russia and buyers of its energy. "I don't want to commit to a hard deadline, but it'll be soon," Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican South Dakota, said Thursday, predicting a vote in the next 30 days. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican South Carolina, and Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat Connecticut, are leading the bill, which has 84 co-sponsors, and have been tweaking its language with the White House to prepare for the president's final approval. The legislation would impose 500% tariffs on Russia and countries purchasing the country's oil and uranium, with the potential to sever entire nations from the American market. Trump on Thursday said the legislation may not be necessary if he can strike a deal between Ukraine and Russia. "I'm not against anything. I'm just saying, it may not be perfect timing, but it could happen in a week or two. But it's at my option," he told reporters. In response to the announcement of a Trump-Putin meeting today, Graham agreed that a negotiated solution would be necessary to end the war but added that it's very important that we continue to sell Ukraine the weapons they need to protect their people and to finally go on offense. He added that Russia should halt its attacks until the meeting takes place.